Welcome to the Circle Sessions featuring the Circle of Experts. The Circle of Experts are Yasmine Robles from Robles Designs, Tanisha English Amamu of TJE Communications, and Don the Idea Guy. I'm Brett Johnson from Circle 270 Media Podcast Consultants. Each week, one of the Circle of Experts joins me to talk about critical aspects of growing your podcast. We focus on marketing, social media, monetization, and website design to help you implement all of these together. This week, Yasmine is here from the Circle of Experts. Yasmine works alongside clients to design a website that's driven by strategy, looks amazing, and that you can actually use to grow your podcast and then in turn your business as well, or the reverse, business and then the podcast. Either way, you're going to feel and see growth. Yasmine, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Let's take a look at content strategy. It's been bandied around a lot. I think it's talked about so much, maybe people don't quite get it or understand what it is too. But let's talk specifically for small business websites. So, what's a content strategy? Why do small businesses need one?
Yeah, I thought this was a great topic just because podcasting is content.
Mm-hmm.
So a content strategy is basically your game plan for creating, publishing, and managing content that really attracts your true audience. For small businesses, it's really essential because it helps you stand out, build trust, and drive conversions. As an example, if you're a small business lawyer and you are writing about something that just came out, whatever law or issue that is, then you're likely providing value and an answer to a business owner who could then hire you.
Correct. Yeah, breaking down something that's complicated. And I love that stuff. That it's one of those. Wow, they get it. I need to work with them. Even if it's like your example of a case that's been decided a year ago, whatever. But you're reading the blog for the first time, going, "Wow, they nailed it. They knew exactly what was going on." But yeah, those are important. Exactly. How should a small business start planning their content strategy then?
Yeah, so I would suggest that you start by understanding your target audience, who they are, what are they interested in, what problems do they have that you are wanting to solve, and then really setting clear goals for your content. And whether it's driving traffic or generating leads or boosting sales, what is your goal for that content? And then finally map out that content calendar to plan and schedule your posts. I will admit, my nerdy self loves a great Google sheet of that planning process. But the first part is really understanding your audience and what they want and how they describe that problem. Because you, let's say, as a website designer, if I started saying things like CMS and all of these other jargony things or abbreviations, if I write about that, you will have no idea what I'm talking about. And you'll say, I just want a website for my business or for my podcast.
Right. So what about creating the content itself? You have any tips that, working with small businesses that like you do, that the best way, the easy way? I don't know if there's really an easy way, but it's just getting started. I know, but about creating that content.
Yeah. If you don't get anything else out of this, just remember to write something that is of value to your target audience. Yeah. So if it is a small business owner looking for legal advice on something that he heard about, write something that they will understand that is answering their questions. If you want to stop now, well, I hope you keep listening, but if you want to stop now, that's the goal. Otherwise, you can focus on creating content that's relevant, engaging, valuable. It could be through blog posts. If you have an e-commerce site, it can be your product descriptions. It can be customer stories or case studies, videos, infographics. You make sure that that content is well researched, well written, and visually appealing, and keep a consistent tone that really reflects your brand. For us, our brand is a little quirky, funny. We make weird dad jokes sometimes. Well, I do. So for Robles Designs, that's our tone. But if you're going to be, for example, a small business lawyer and you, for some reason, want to maintain a very more buttoned down kind of a tone on the blog post, you can do that. So just make sure it's consistent.
How does SEO fit into this? I see articles all the time about writing to SEO, right? It's just that, okay, that you want it to show up, so you have to include all these terms, SEO terms and such. But how does that fit in, though? I mean, that sounds like it doing that sounds like it's not going to be a very interesting article or podcast. You're just plopping in terms. I mean, to me at least, but maybe that's the way to do. I don't know. So how does it fit in?
Yeah. So again, back to my very first comment, make sure it's valuable
Okay.
and make sure it's just engaging. When it comes to SEO, I would say that on the front end, you're going to do a lot more research. And let's say you are a coffee shop in Columbus, Ohio, and you have a couple of locations. Your SEO is likely going to be around location based as well as the terms that people are using to look up your coffee shop. Now, let's say you also feature artists on your podcast for that coffee shop,
Mm.
then you can take a slightly different angle on how you can pull people in. So just doing that upfront research, knowing yourself what your goal is, and again, back to knowing your target market, you want to make sure that you know them better than they know themselves. And now you can then go into tools like SEMrush. There's a lot of them out there. SEMrush is what we use. Free ones include Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Google Ads. You can use the Google Ads keyword planner, and then you can just start typing things in. We have a love of chat GPT for brainstorming. I'm not going to say do not ask chat GPT to tell you what keywords you should go after because
Yeah.
it's not a keyword tool, but it can help prompt a lot of that brainstorming. And now you can take what it told you and then actually back it up with the keyword planner on Google Ads or SEMrush if you're paying for it. Then once you have that, I would suggest making sure that you don't have more than like 2 to 3 keywords or key phrases. Make sure that they're long enough. So you don't want to just rank for websites. You probably want to rank for websites in Columbus, Ohio, or Squarespace
Mm.
websites in Columbus, Ohio. Make sure that they're long enough. And then just give 2 to 3 to each page. And now you have your homepage, about page, services page. Now they have their own target key phrases, and you can write the content based on that. When it comes to blogging, take that research, and let's say you have you're trying to reach to college students who are figuring out how to really hone in on their interview skills. Then what you can do is take that research you did with keywords and create what I call it like a trunk. Basically, you think of a trunk of a tree and then branches. The trunk is you can think of it as a summary article. It's going to be 2,000 words based on your research, but it's 2,000 words summarized summaries of, let's say, 6 other articles that are about 1,000 words each.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a hit list, right? Like top 6 ways of nailing that job, if that's the keyword. And it's basically linking back to these 1,000 word articles and just summarizing them in a little bit. So basically you have 6 1,000 word articles. If anybody wants a visual graphic, I will send it over to them. 6 1,000 word articles and then like one branch article. And that's a lot. That feels like horrible flashbacks of AP history class and essays. But if you spread it out, depending on your bandwidth, if you spread that out, let's say you can spread it out into 2 3 months, that's just going to get the ball rolling. And it's slow. I would say if you do that, it'll take 6 months, maybe 9 months to get to really see an uptick. But at least you're laying that proper foundation for for SEO, and you're getting organic traffic, which is different from paid traffic.
Right. And it sounds as though too, from you've mentioned this before, and I've heard other people talk about it too, is that SEO's changed a little bit, and that's specifically to
Mm-hmm.
blogs, but I think it's to websites as though too, of course, is that Google really likes, or search engines in general, really likes you speaking as yourself. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so maybe that helps
Yes.
break it down to do it easier. I mean, to encourage you to do it. That you don't have to write for Google. You're
Mm-hmm.
writing. It's like just talk. Use your
Mm-hmm.
voice, but then know that you've got to include some terms and that sort of thing just to help it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. But be yourself. Is that a good piece of advice? Maybe to help out, just to get it accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, be yourself. It's kind of like if I give you a topic and I say, kind of take these 3 key phrases and write around them,
Yeah.
write value around these key phrases. Just write what will come out naturally. Let's say I'm writing about Squarespace websites or the best platforms for a website, for example, then my top ones are Squarespace, WordPress, and Shopify. So those are the ones I know. And I'll
Mhm.
do a little bit of research, but it just naturally do write it the way you would speak it. You can even do like the talk to text. And
Yeah.
then what we don't, I suggest you don't use ChatGPT to actually write the article, but you can ask it to make things more concise. You can ask it to make suggestions to improve it. You can also give it blog posts that you've already written and say, does this match the tone? What would make my new article match the tone of this other article? But again, just be wary of AI, just because Google doesn't want you to just be telling ChatGPT or any of the other millions of websites they can go to nowadays. It doesn't want you to just say, "Hey, write me a blog post about which platform to use." It doesn't want that. It wants it to be genuine and it wants it to be well thought out. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, you can use AI tools to help that process
Mhm.
along. A few other things that you'll want to think about are things like, it's going to get jargony, but meta tags or meta descriptions, which is
Mhm.
the description of what that page is about, the title of the page. So you can, for example, if you have a Columbus based location for that coffee shop and you have dedicated a page to that location, you can make the title of the page include Columbus, Ohio, or New Albany, or wherever it's located. So just keep those things in mind. And when it comes to content, don't worry about it. Yeah, you might want to hit 1,000 words and maybe two or three different keywords, but write value, right?
Mhm.
Answer a question, and that's going to get you a lot further than just trying to keyword stuff.
And maybe it's that reevaluate articles that you've read or seen websites that you've seen
Mhm.
that have really hit you and kind of go, well, why do I like it? And you're going to look at things differently, I would think. Yeah. Yeah. So how should small businesses distribute that content then?
Yeah. So, what I love about content planning is that you can then, let's say you have a podcast. Podcasting is great. You can have that transcript. You can rewrite that transcript into an article. And then if it doesn't hit 1,000 words, that's fine. You can include more information so that it does hit those 1,000 words. You might have recorded the podcast episode with some keywords in mind already. So maybe they're already in there. If not, just kind of rearrange it so it does include some of those keywords you were trying to hit. From there, that's the hard part. From there, you can take snippets like quotes from the article and then use them on social media. If you're recording video, take snippets of that video and post it on your social media. You can send snippets of it to your email list, snippets of the recording, the video, or quotes from the transcript. You can reuse all of this content. So really, once you have this podcast episode and a transcript, you create it into a blog article. Now all you do is basically cut it into chunks, and you could, if you said I only have time for two 1,000 word articles per month to hit my goal of the keywords, that can still give you a month's worth of content for all the other platforms that you're trying to hit. So that's my exciting piece of news, that you don't have
Mm.
to recreate everything.
Right. Yeah. And insightful. I mean, yeah, but okay, you've done all this work. You do want to measure it. So, I mean, how should businesses measure the success of the content? And I'm sure every business is different. I mean, they have their own measurables and ROI, but overall, how do we measure that performance?
Mhm. It depends on the goals that you set in the beginning. So if it was, we want to increase our leads via our contact form by 5%, 20%, that can be a way to track it. The other goals could be something like the key metrics, page views, engagement. So how engaged are people with your content? And then again, conversion, depending how many products were sold, etc. There are some free tools like Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Hotjar can help you see how engaged people are with the page, because it'll record people on the page and see what they were doing.
Mm.
It'll also give you a heat map, which is pretty snazzy. So you can take a look at those. There are some paid versions to get reporting, but if you just use Google Analytics, you can then start seeing what people did on your website. For social media, you can then take a look. They all have their own little platform, but you can look at the metrics that they're providing. So, how many people interacted with your post? How many people clicked on the link or went to your profile and then clicked on the link? So, you can start seeing that user journey of how does the website and email marketing and social media all fit together, especially if you have a a podcast. How do these all fit together and play in the same area and ultimately help you make money? Because we all have hobbies, but if you're putting this much effort into it, I really hope that you get to be to the point of like Scrooge McDuck and diving into a vault of a pool of like gold coins, because
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
putting in so much effort.
Exactly. So you mentioned a lot of different areas to watch, to increase, to feel that you're doing something sticking, that sort of thing. Should you just focus on one, or can you maybe pick two or three that work together really well, depending on your goals, that they kind of work in concert? If you know what, if you understand what I'm talking about.
So, for your content, I would say if you are flying solo or you're a very small team and not, you guys don't really have a marketing person on staff,
Mhm.
I would say think about you might want to do a marketing audit, which I know we're gonna have or have had an episode on that.
Mhm.
But think about your goals. Where are you currently? Are you utilizing? Are you trying to be on all the social media platforms, and how's that going for you?
Mhm.
Kind of do a gut check of how everything is feeling. Check if you don't have analytics installed onto your site, at least get Google Analytics and Google Search Console installed to start tracking. And once you are tracking information, take a look and see, are people engaging? How When I put something on social media, are they coming to the site? If I get featured
Yeah.
somewhere, are people actually going to the website? From there, you can start seeing where the gaps are. So if you're like, wow, I have 10,000 followers on my social media, but nobody is coming to my website, or when they do, they immediately leave. So that could be a sign that the content that they're seeing does not align with what they're seeing on social media,
Mhm.
and that they're looking for something different. So then you can focus on the website. If you see that you're getting a ton of organic search, you're being found with just organically on your website, but nobody's buying, again, there might be a disconnect with the content that they're seeing, and and how do you pivot that? So now the question is, okay, we know, we see the gap. How can we set up goals and then just break it down into small obtainable chunks? So if you said, you know what, we're doing pretty well social on the website, but we really want to focus in on SEO and our content and blogging, then, and you kind of overwhelmed about what I just said about the 2,000 words and the 1,000 words, then do a little bit of research about, you can even poll your audience and see what they want to hear about, and start your goal should be about 1,000 words, maybe once a month, and then pick it up to twice a month next quarter, and then kind of continue on. And then every so often, do one of those summary articles that basically summarizes the past 5 different blog
Mhm.
posts that you've done and links back to them, because Google loves it when you interweave links throughout your website, and just kind of space it out. I would say if you're really a solopreneur or a small team, this might take you a year to just kind of get used to the rhythm of content strategy and how you can disseminate. Once you've got something created, you can really break it down and send it through many channels.
Yeah, I was going to mention and ask about a timetable, but I think you're right. It's going to take months. But over those months, and I've seen it too, that once I just kind of get my head down and do something, whatever it
Mhm.
is, you do start to see it
Mhm.
build up. It's like a
Yeah.
domino effect almost. So I think if you're consistent with whatever you're doing, you're going to see, you're going to reap the results. It's going to happen. It's kind of hard not to. If you're doing it properly and you've got everything set up and you've worked with the right people to do the right things, I think you're going to see the results.
hmm Yeah, we've seen people, if who we gave them an audit and they followed the plan. And it's hard because at first you're not really seeing any progress, but around, I would say, if you're really doing, what were they doing? They were doing 1,000 word articles per month. They weren't hitting their 2,000, but they're like, you know what, this is our goal. We're
Mhm.
just going to keep it going. They increased it. Finally, they were doing about four. So from the 4 articles per month, from the time that they started to about 6 months, that's when you could see in Google Analytics it started to kind of grow a little bit, their organic traffic. And they were starting to rank on keywords. And there were some keywords that they were on page maybe 2, and then they were pushing up towards the bottom of page 1, and then they kept
Nice.
going up and up. So I would say months 6 through 9, almost to a year, that's when that curve got steeper and went up. So that's when Google was like, oh, you're legitimate. You didn't just do this for 3 months. You're actually going all in. But that's where organic is great, because then let's say something happens, somebody, let's say one of your employees goes on maternity leave and they don't write as many articles. It's still growing. You still have those articles. It's not like paid media where as soon as you stop it, everything stops, right?
Yeah.
Which I love paid media, but it's to help you increase fast, whereas organic helps you increase slowly, but then helps you stay afloat.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Which I like. And I've heard that. And you've said it about that. The organic is really a great base to build on, because if even it slows down a little bit, it doesn't fall apart like paid does. That
Mm-hmm.
it's just different. So you've built that street cred of organic, that it can survive a little bit of a down, then and build right back up, which is great. So
Mm-hmm.
thanks for sharing all this. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners find more about you and Robles Designs as well?
Yeah. So if you just realized that you had no idea what the jargon I used too much jargon, or if you were kind of overwhelmed, you can reach out to me at roblesdesigns.com. You can also download our free checklist, roblesdesigns.com/checklist. I'm always open to being bribed. If you just want to chat my brain out, like just if you just want to chat through all of these things and scratch some stuff on paper, always coffee, margaritas, depending on the time of day, or tacos. I am not against the bribe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we at Circle 270 Media podcast do podcast audits as well. I think we've touched upon this on many episodes, that audits are, they seem like a heavy lift, but they're actually very, very effective in regards to having an outsider look at what you're doing and giving you what they see has been a problem with someone like you, or somebody that's in general, these are the issues, but also specific to you too. And not really pulling any punches, going, this is what you're doing really well, and this is what you're doing really poorly. But here's how you can fix it. It's not unfixable. And we do that with podcasts as well. It may include the podcast specifically, or it may include content that's outside of the podcast that's supposed to help the podcast that maybe is living on your website, or a podcast or a podcast website audit completely, or a business website audit. We bring in Yasmine and Robles Designs team to take a look at it, because they all work in concert. So nothing stands alone. As long as everything you're doing is working together, then success will happen. It will get you where you want to go. But it's that really working with somebody to help you pull out your clarity as well too, and looking at, why are you doing this? What do you want to do with it? And here are the things we see that are going wrong but are going right as well too. So you can get hold of me at mypodcastguy.com. Hop on the calendar. I'm the same as Yasmine. I love talking about this stuff. So it's one of those, coffee, whatever it might be. It's hard for me to shut up about it, but it's always fun. But it's one of those. But those conversations are always fun. They are really, really fun. So thanks, Yasmine. I appreciate you joining me.
Brett, I just want to clarify. Are you also open to bribes with margaritas?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a true big margarita fan, but I've got to find the
Just a
one
shot.
that I love. I'm still in search of it, I guess. It's that find the right bourbon, find the right this, that sort of thing. So I guess I'm on the margarita track.
All right.
I
That
need to
sounds
do that.
good.
So yeah. Thanks.